Hi everybody, and welcome to this session all about AI adoption in the workplace. So I'm your host today. I'm Paul Joslin, Head of Engineering around Evo, which is our AI integrated platform. And I'm pleased to say I'm joined by Laura, RAC, an Access customer, and Ha from Microsoft. So I don't know, Laura and Ha, do you want to just do a quick introduction for yourself?
Yeah, so I've been with RAC for almost 11 years and worked within the learning sector for 7. I currently am digital learning manager, so a lot of kind of adoption of emerging digital technologies, how we can integrate those into the business to improve the learning experience for colleagues. We're quite unique, unique in so much as at least half of our workforce are remote workers, like on the side of a road fixing vehicles. So there's always challenges, interesting challenges to overcome there. So yeah, it's a really exciting time to kind of be working in the sector.
Awesome. And Ha?
Yeah, hi, my name is Ha. I'm a cloud solution architect at Microsoft. I'm a specialist in the kind of the AI area. The day-to-day job is basically helping customer to basically realize the value of AI. And I've been working with Access Group for a number of years now, building kind of a highly available, very interesting project with Access Group.
Awesome. So obviously we really want to get onto the juicy stuff of the benefits of AI. But before we do that, I think we're going to sort of look at the kind of AI adoption in the workplace. So I know myself, I use AI all the time, basically. I use it every day. I'm absolutely passionate about AI, what we can enable for our customers, but also for myself, making myself more efficient. I think there was an Access survey actually recently that said over 50% of people that were surveyed are already using AI in the workplace, already finding lots of value about that. But I guess before we go into those benefits, Ha, perhaps like you can break down what do companies need to consider actually from AI adoption in the workplace? How do they actually bring that into their workplace?
So I think probably good to have kind of a framework in mind in terms of kind of a high level step that you want to adopt something. I think the first thing you want to do is you want to see what sort of like use cases that you want to address in your particular organization, in your workplace. Once you have a particular problem statement that you want to solve, you want to work into, okay, do I have the AI skill that are required to particularly solve these particular problems? And so once you're doing that, you basically going to the next step where you build a foundation to basically get ready for the implementation. And then you go into the kind of the cycle where you got the governance, the security assessment, and the implementations and the management of that solution. So that is in a very high level. That is kind of the framework that you want to have.
I guess, Laura, is that kind of what you followed in RAC, or have you done something a bit different?
So for us being financial services, obviously everything's very highly regulated anyway, and then you get like your DPO kind of obligations on top of that. So we do, one of our starting points for us was having like an AI policy. We hold something ridiculous. I can't remember the exact number, but it's millions and millions of different pieces of customer information. So governance for us has been really, really important because, we don't want those assets going into places where they shouldn't and being used in ways that aren't appropriate. So yeah, so it definitely is kind of, we started with the governance piece. So we knew the kind of the remits that we were working within. And then it's been very much of a kind of, as a customer, we're quite diverse. You've got customer care, you've got claims, you've got HR functions, you've got on the road solutions. So it's actually looking at the kind of processes within those each individual departments and seeing where you can have AI interventions. So I think digital learning, we were one of the first because we piloted the kind of the co-pilot integration in Evo with Access. So that was one of the first kind of forays for us into AI, but we're seeing AI and obviously data and insight. I think that's probably where it's been most widely used for some years. Customer care now has a great demo from our customer care team on how they're using AI the other day. Claims, it's becoming more and more widespread as people are seeing the benefits of adoption.
Are you seeing any misconceptions about AI? Like, are you getting anybody that's nervous about it, perhaps?
Yeah, so there's a few kind of a myth things. So for example, AI think like us, or AI doesn't have a bias, or one of the kind of a things that potentially you see in the news that AI would take our jobs. So all of these as a myth. And AI is not just ChatGPT. There's a lot more to it. So things like AI, things like us. So if you think about it, it is a machine learning model behind the scenes. It basically make a predictions. It give you the kind of the impression of it is things like a human, but it's still a machine learning behind the scenes. AI is obviously trained on a certain set of data. So unless you curate your data appropriately, then AI is not guaranteed free from bias.
And that's one of the things that I notice quite a lot is a misconception, is people think that, you know, that when they use AI, it's learning on their data, it's being trained on their data, and that's definitely not the case, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So within Microsoft, when you're using our services, we're very clear about, you know, your data is your data. We're not going to use it to then train the model going forward. And I think one of the examples, you know, being that is kind of bias things, and the data is, if you look, if you ask ChatGPT or kind of an image generation to say, please generate some image of people using pen on the left hand, you'll find it very difficult because most people are right-handed. And that's one of the examples of the bias within the AI.
Yeah, it's one of the first questions when I was asked to like be on the beta trial for Copilot was, is this closed source or open source AI? So I think, you know, the misconception that whatever you put into AI is going to go out into the ether and then be used, you know, to either train other AI models or, you know, it's just a common misconception. And I also think for us, or certainly as a customer, one of the common misconceptions I've come across is kind of already, you know, that there's kind of, you don't need people. And that's really just not true. You know, you can I use AI sometimes to generate ideas. I know our customer care team use it to kind of generate letters. So there's standardized tones and like standardized outcomes for people. You still need people to go through those letters and check that, you know, accuracy isn't 100% yet. You know, and you still need people.
One thing that I always notice, because I must admit I kind of cheat with anything from writing a report to writing a LinkedIn post, anything like that. I always kind of throw it into AI and say, this is kind of roughly what I want to say, make it nicer, make it more comprehensible. But it always change it to American English. Yeah. So Zs start appearing everywhere and I'm like, oh no, I have to change that. Like, so you definitely need a human still in the loop. It's there to enhance you, not to basically replace you.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. And you obviously started talking about some of the benefits. I guess at RAC, there's probably quite a lot of benefits actually outside of RAC to your actual customers as well.
Yeah, so, you know, for example, if you think about the claims management process, then if you're phoning through the breakdown and you've got a person that needs to check a couple of different systems to check your entitlements, that takes time. Whereas if you have, you know, like an AI overlay, which can tell the call handler instantly, you know, this is this person, this is how many claims I've had in the past X amount of months, this is their entitlements, you know, you reduce your call handling time. So ultimately the customer is getting a better experience.
I think that's kind of what I like seeing is, especially with Evo, like the AI use cases being applied to specific customer problems. So there'll be so many situations like that where AI is so good at comprehending so much data, just frees up the person so they don't have to find the report that information's in or dig around to sort of compile things together. It can just do it for them. What about you, Ha? Have you seen some great examples from Microsoft's point of view?
Yes, so I think from us perspective, I mean, we are customer zero, so within the organization, we're using a lot of AI. Personal perspective, one of the things that I really like the most is actually team. For example, you got the functionality now to recap a team meeting. And that for me is a life-changing kind of experience. Before that, you either have to watch a recording for an hour, and that's just a lot of your time if you cannot join the meeting. And now you can actually have a summarization. You can ask questions about that particular meeting, any action for me. And going forward, we're going to build kind of a facilitator where we can follow up the meeting as well, which is again, that's bring a lot of benefit and that's a lot of repetitive tasks that someone have to do, and now you can be free to do other things.
I know we were talking earlier about remote working. Obviously, since COVID, it's quite common, and we were talking, all of us kind of do quite a lot of remote working. I must admit, since COVID especially, my calendar is full of meetings these days. And so actually that as a AI tool, it's really, really beneficial, because people just invite everybody to a meeting, but some you need to go to, some you don't, and you go to it just in case you miss out. So if AI can just give you the snapshots of the information, that's fantastic. And I guess thinking about AI adoption, we talked about, your planning process, putting the strategy in place. Are there challenges that you actually faced putting the AI adoption into RAC, for example?
So in terms of the digital learning products, which is the project that I was most heavily involved with, actually, because we'd already got the governance in place, it's a case of doing some, and you're ISO accredited, so that's always really helpful. So, it's a case of just doing some sense checking, weighing up the risks. So actually, for me, it was a fairly painless process.
Did you find any of the users needed to be retrained to understand how to use the tools, or was it intuitive?
So I think there's this misconception with AI that you can put like 2 sentences in and it gives you exactly what you want, which isn't the case, is it? The more specific you are, the more you will get back what you actually want. So I think there's definitely, has been some kind of training piece around, you need to be really specific and actually refine. It's not just you type in for 10 seconds and then you get exactly what you want. You do need to be specific and refine and check that actually what you're putting in, the response you're getting is what you want. So there's definitely an education piece around how to use it for its, how to optimize the functionality.
Are you going to create a digital learning course to teach them about how to use AI, perhaps?
Probably.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, add that to the list.
Yeah. Get AI to help you make it as well.
Exactly. If AI could write it for me, that.
And Ha, again, obviously you work with lots of different companies. There must be a range of challenges that you see come up time and time again.
Yeah, so I think there are 2 main things that I think that majority of the company are facing at the moment. Is first one, the key thing is confidence. We adopt AI, we're building a system AI to solve a particular problem. We have to be confident that it's actually addressing, and there are, if any risks that potentially can get involved, then we will have to have a way to mitigate the risk. So obviously, is well known in the literature that LLM can be hallucinate, right? It can give you the answer with a very confident voice, but it might not be true. So how do you address all that sort of thing? So having tooling, processes, governance, as you mentioned, to basically govern that process, to have the confidence to implementing AI in your workplace is one of the biggest aspect, I believe. The second one is also skilling, and the way I look at it, actually, from my personal example, is I look at it as we at a certain age we have been trained to use and work in a certain way, and new generation will be different. So the example that I can give is me and my kid. He asked me questions, and the way I do it, I go on Bing, I using keyword of what he asked me for searching. He works completely different. He works on an LM, he asks a question, and the way that I work, we have to basically work out all the keyword before we do the search. He works in a very iterative manner. I start with an idea, and he reiterates that over time, and that is a very complete different skill. And therefore, having people to understand the capability of AI, first what it can do, and then ability to then harness that power, the skill to then use that's very important.
Do either of you remember like when search engines came out, right?
Yeah.
So, well, there was Ask Jeeves, there was Google, and I remember, not to diss on my parents, but they would really struggle to type in the right thing to get the results they wanted. Whereas you start to learn how to actually put your search in to get exactly what you want out. And I feel like right now, at least with the AI tools we got today, it's a bit like that. We're sort of learning how to actually use these to get the effective results. Hopefully it keeps improving, and you mentioned hallucinations. I noticed in the old days, when GPT 3.5 came out originally, there was a lot of hallucinations there. It would make things up. I think with the more modern models and how we've kind of incorporated it in Evo with agents, that seems to be getting better, right? Like it's very important that if you're asking about some financial data, you're getting the financial data and it isn't making something up. So it's definitely moving in the right direction. We obviously talked about different benefits in RAC. Are there any kind of like standout results that you've seen with things that you've done, you know, where your workforce is saying fantastic or the customers are saying fantastic, or any particular use cases that you've applied and everybody's just over the moon with efficiency?
So customer care, I think, definitely has been a real standout. You know, the way they've managed to adopt that to bring down the kind of resolution time when someone contacts us. You know, I think that's really been a standout use for us. I think overall, though, there's the reduction in admin time that AI brings. Like, I spend more hours than I would like, you know, on things like reporting. I mean, I love a spreadsheet, don't get me wrong, like please don't take my spreadsheets away from me. But you know, things like reporting, you know, someone asks me, oh, what percentage completion rate is this module? I have to run a report, I have to build the report, I have to make sure they've got all the parameters. Whereas if I ask, you know, use Copilot, ask Copilot with an Evo, it can tell me that, like, you know, so the amount of time that saves on, you know, which is time I can spend doing the real value add aspects of my role, such as content creation, digitalization of kind of HR, training competency processes, doing some kind of personal development with people, you know, and especially in terms of the personal development stuff, like I know we've got digital coaches and AI coaches kind of programs coming on board. I still think there's just a human element you cannot remove from those kind of interactions.
So it's interesting because we use Evo in Access. We've always used our own software in-house, and it's just the little things like HR policy documents, right? I don't know where they are, and I'm not going to read them all, but they're actually in our Copilot around our HR systems. And so if I want to know, can I work on a cruise ship, right? I can actually go and ask that question and it will analyze all the information and come back with an answer about whether I can or can't. I think the great thing in my job is I get to see all the different vertical applications of Evo with AI, and obviously you've been working very closely with us, so you get to see it a lot. It's things like in the Australia region, they've applied it to tax and accountants. And what they've done, it's looking at the tax legislation as it changes in Australia, it's detecting that, looking at the data they've got and actually telling the end user, you can actually adjust your tax kind of accounting around this and save more money and stuff like that. They've done a side-by-side preview of before and after, and it's staggering like how much time that's saving. So just keep looking for these great use cases to keep coming in. Obviously, let us know if there's anything that you'd like us to add, because we obviously want that feedback. And I guess, are there any other sort of standout sort of use cases you've seen with the customers you work with at Microsoft?
I think the time saving, the efficiency, I think definitely is one of the big benefit that AI bring into it. But I think to complement on that point, there are other aspects in kind of AI can actually have you to make to have benefit. So for example, I was working with a particular company in the kind of manufacturing where effectively what they want to do is to optimize their cutting process to basically minimize the wastage of a particular material, and also minimize the carbon emission that results. And that have a massive impact in kind of that we were effectively aiming for kind of a 20% save in terms of the material. That is a massive impact in terms of the business. So in terms of not just the time saving for in the workplace, but also the business process, which in turn actually lead into, because of now we can save us so much more. We can actually take a lot more order, take a lot more smaller lead time in terms of taking the order, and therefore actually change the whole business process to go with it. Decision making process also is another kind of a point. Before we have to have the right data, we have to collect the data first, we have to analyze it first, we have to ask what if scenario, right? Now we can do that a lot more efficiently, a lot more faster, so therefore we can make the right decision at the right time. So I think that's another kind of a key benefit.
And I guess looking to the future, I guess in Microsoft, you know where everything's going. What do we have to look forward to? What's coming in the future with AI?
So I think a lot of the thing that we're discussing today is about AI to supplementing our kind of work, right? Help us to do our thing better. I think going forward there will be open up to the autonomous agent, where effectively some of the repetitive tasks that do for us. What if the report that you have to do every so often automate do it for you? You review it, obviously. You want to make sure the data is correct and send check them, but you don't have to run through, oh, I have to collect the data, etc. That would be, I think that's the when AI actually do something for you. I think that's where we're going to go next, and there's a lot of benefit that we can have from that.
Is that slightly scary, Laura? The idea that AI is going to do it for you?
No, I welcome it. To be honest, like working in a financial services business, we're so heavily regulated. There is such a lot of compliance reporting. Actually, to have like an assistant that does that for me, that I can just sense check. I can set the parameters up. I need this report every month to go to these people, and then we get to a place eventually where the AI goes, well, do you also want to send this report to these people? Things like that. I think it's such a time save. I think, as I said before, it then allows you to do the elements of your role that either AI can't assist with or AI isn't there yet. So I'm not a fan of writing content in AI. I will use it to kind of start generating structures and ideas. I tend to use it a lot of the time when I've written something to check readability or maybe condense word count, because I can be quite wordy. So I really like it for that. When I have at the moment used it for content generation, it's just not where I want it to be. So actually, by taking out the elements of the role that I need to do and are really important and our regulators require of us, it allows me then to focus on the real value add bits that we can bring to the table.
It's so funny you sort of said about making something more concise. I think that's one of the things I always use it for. I write something out and I'm like, oh God, that's so wordy. I'll stick it in there and say, make this more concise and easier to understand, and it just trims it down. I also like the idea, if I think about things that I do quite often, like approve my team's holiday, I don't think I've ever said no.
Yeah.
Right? Like I could probably set up a rule that says, providing they've given me over a week's notice and it's not clashing with another team member, auto approve. Otherwise, let me know and I can approve it. So stuff like that would be fantastic. I was thinking, as we're sort of coming to the end of this, is there one piece of advice from each of you that you could give to anybody that's watching, that's thinking about bringing AI into the workplace, and what they should consider?
So first of all, don't be scared. It's not as scary as I think it's made out to be in mainstream media. For me, it'd be get your governance in place first. If you know the playbook that you're working by, then actually it makes the integration a lot easier. Engage your kind of DPO teams, InfoSec teams, early doors, and kind of have fun, see what it can do. It's not a hindrance, it's a help. So, my piece of advice would be kind of get on the AI bandwagon sooner rather than later. Just see what it can do.
And I guess if the company hasn't actually formally embraced it, the employees probably already are.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So,
I don't think there's many people out there that aren't, when they're applying for roles, putting CVs through ChatGPT or, scanning job adverts using AI. I think especially younger generations, they probably don't know any different. If you think of your graduates of today, they probably can't really remember a world where they weren't using AI in some way, shape or form.
And Ha, any advice?
To your point, if you think about it, my kid wouldn't know a telephone. So I used to have an old telephone with a dial. My kid would never know that. So similar, they know the mobile phone, they know the iPad, and I think it will be similar to our kid generation going forward. My advice would be embrace it, because I think if you look into it, there is a lot of power there to be harnessed. I'll just give you an example. This is my pet project. So every half term, every holidays, my wife used to plan the holiday. and she have to think about where are we gonna go, how are we gonna get there, where are we gonna stay, etc. I wrote effectively a multi-agent system that basically do that for her, and she loved it. So the benefit for me is my wife loved me.
Awesome. Well, that's a great way to kind of round this off. So thank you very much, Laura and Ha, for all your input. Hopefully this was useful for everybody that's watching. We looked at kind of what you have to consider when you're looking at adopting AI in the workplace. We looked at the benefits, both internally in your company, but also for customers and their experience. We also sort of explored some of the challenges and some of the ways that AI might be evolving in the future. And hopefully this has excited you and your business to embrace AI, and check out Access Evo. We've got a lot of information on our website, and if you're an Access customer, hopefully you'll see our functionality coming to you very soon. Thank you, everybody.